In the living room of 221B Baker Street, there was always the familiar clutter of chemicals and sundry trophies from past investigations. These curious relics appeared in the most unlikely of places. They emerge at times from the butter dish or from locations still more incongruous. Yet the most vexing difficulty was the mass of papers Holmes possessed, what I might term a peculiar dread of destroying documents, particularly those relating to former cases. These he would collate, and order perhaps but once in a year or two. Holmes was fond of remarking that if a man could command intimate knowledge of 1,000 cases, yet be wholly at sea when faced with the thousands and first, that would indeed be most singular. Thus, it was his habit to classify and label the record of each affair for future reference. Only when a matter was concluded in that curious lassitude of his set-in would he sink lazily into the armchair and paste the clippings into his case index. To the red-headed leaf. My own notebooks contains the amounts of numerous cases. Some ended in tragedy, others possessed a certain comic element. Most were, in truth, neither sad nor mirthful, but rather exceptional in their singularity. Among those eccentric affairs, the present instance was a peculiar novel, I think that's what it said. Holmes once observed that the strangest and most original of cases are not always the grand conspiracies nor melodramatic crimes, but those small, seemingly trivial matters that lead one to suspect whether any crime at all has taken place. In the current example, one would be uncertain, even after hearing the particulars, whether to style it a case at all. Nevertheless, an advertisement announcing positions in the so-called Red-Headed League led directly to the unmasking of an elaborate bank robbery, sufficiently intriguing and enough to banish Holmes' ennui. He clipped the advertisement and filled it neatly among his references. The Red-Headed League first appeared in August 1891. I saw the 9, that's why. In the Strand magazine, and was later collected in The Adventures of Sherlock Holmes, 1892, along with 11 other short stories. Sir Arthur Conan Doyle personally ranked it second among his 12 favorite Holmes stories in 1927. The readers of the Baker Street Journal placed it second again in a 1959 poll. One snowy morning, Mr. Holder, senior partner in London's second-largest private bank, called upon us. He had lent a substantial sum to a certain member of the royal house, the collateral being a gold coronet adorned with 39 magnificent barrel stones. That night, hearing a suspicious sound, he discovered his son Arthur before the open safe, holding the coronet in his hands. The police were at once informed. The holder beseeched Holmes' assistance. In this case, Holmes once more invoked his maxim, when you have eliminated the impossible, whatever remains, however improbable, must be the truth. The coronet was restored intact and the young man cleared of all charges. The case was entered dutifully in Holmes's file. Inspector Lestrade of Scotland Yard was a frequent nocturnal visitor, and Holmes was invariably pleased to see him, for through such visits one might gain a fuller sense of official developments. Lestrade would bring tidings, and in return Holmes listened attentively to the minutiae of his inquiries, occasionally imparting valuable advice from his own wide experience. One such evening, Lestrade regaled us with what seemed but a piece of absurd vandalism. A man destroyed every plaster bust of Napoleon upon which he could lay hands. To our surprise, Holmes developed a keen interest, chasing down the clue until he discovered a priceless pearl hidden within one such bust, and apprehended a murderer in the process. The outcome duly found its way into its archives. To his archives. Oopsies. There we go. It's the 6 Napoleons.
The Brailstone Mystery. From one of Holmes' trusted informants came intelligence foretelling that a gentleman named Douglas, master of Brailstone Manor, was in mortal danger. Soon thereafter came word of his death. The crime took place within the manor, a residence fitted with a drawbridge which, by old feudal custom, was raised nightly and lowered each morning, rendering the estate an island after dusk. Douglas was killed at close range, the charge from a double-barreled fowling piece striking full upon his face. The murderer left the weapon behind, escaped through a window, and deposited upon the scene a card inked in a hasty scrawl. The affair was of a highly unusual nature, and the shadow of a master criminal, Holmes's enduring adversary, seemed to lurk behind it. Holmes opined that further time was necessary ere he might lay hands on such an opponent, and merely sniped the newspaper report for inclusion among his case papers. And that is it for that. Now we will do the story.
Well, I still had time. That's good. But I'm gonna do it now. So, here we go. Yeah! So, the case surrounding the Wrath of Cerberus had come to a close. The story of that unforgettable consulting detective was far from reaching its final chapter. Alright, which one are we choosing? A Scandal in Bohemia, The Memoirs of Sherlock Holmes, and The Adventures of Sherlock Holmes. Do I actually get to choose one? No, it's just a thing. Okay. On the eve of my departure for the manor, I busied myself with packing. By chance, I spread several old newspapers across my desk. Their yellow pages recorded reports I had either witnessed firsthand or penned myself, accounts of cases that had, in their day, caused quite a stir. We got 4. Let's do the back one first. The King of Bohemia to wed Scandinavian princess. And then there was that matter of royal intrigue. Such stories never fail to become the subject of gossip throughout London. Art money laundering probe deepens. By following up on documents sent to me by Mr. Sherlock Holmes and Dr. John Watson regarding a money laundering scheme, I had written a report that drew considerable attention. Bank heist foiled, suspect still at large. There was also that bank robbery masterminded through the use of underground tunnels which captured the public imagination and soon evolved into the talk of every street corner. Isn't that the one with gold foil? Isn't that Lady Truth's story? Interesting. Bevel's mysterious death tied to Wrath of Cerberus secrets, and that's the one that we ended up doing. One such article brought back the Wrath of Cerberus affair and the death of Mr. Bevel. As I ran my fingers across the final print, I found myself slipping into thoughts. In my career as a journalist, I have borne witness to countless remarkable incidents, yet of them all, one case remains vividly fixed in my memory. It was not the most dangerous, perhaps, but it was as intricate as it was unpredictable. And then there was the woman at its heart, Irene Adler, whom Holmes himself would later refer to simply as the woman. Her courage and intelligence are qualities I have never forgotten. Oh, tap the event also to share it with friends and claim rewards. Oh, I can visit visit 221B daily tasks. Yes, we also have an anonymous letter that I wanted to read. So here we go. I am a consulting detective in London, presently engaged in pursuing a criminal known as Porlock. The man himself is of minor consequence. It is the shadowy figure who stands behind him that is my true query. To attempt to track that elusive kingpin directly to the throne of the city would be futile. Our only course is to follow Porlock and hope to glean clues from the company he keeps. Several days ago, Porlock was observed boarding a motor car bound for Oletus Manor. Owing to certain complications, I am unable to present there in person to effect an arrest. I therefore wish to place this task in the hands of a visitor of the manor, Colin. The matter is urgent. If he is not apprehended without delay, London may face grave disorder. Should you consent to accept this case, I shall be in further communication. Accept. Oh, look at that. I thank you for your cooperation. Although Porlock has made his escape to Oletus Manor, he has left behind in London a number of ciphers and clues, means by which he communicates with other members of the criminal empire. I shall seek out these traces in London and forward them to you. Once you have broken the codes, proceed to the locations indicated and search them closely. In so doing, you may uncover Porlock's hiding place. Not long ago, we found a handful of discarded scraps in the bin outside his lodgings. I judge the information upon them to be of no small importance. Please examine these clues. If you discover any suspicious location with Oletus Manor, search it well and report your findings to me. Right, you received a clue. View clues. Fit the arranged pieces, blah, blah, blah. Oh, Arms Factory? It says Arms Factory. Perhaps I should go there to investigate. Investigate the Arms Factory, find potential clues, and report your findings. Enter. Oh. Well, you know what? I have the Sherlock Holmes skin, so we have to go in as Dr. Watson. No. You know what? I think I am. I'm gonna go in as Postman. Because why not? There he is. Dr. Watson. We're gonna go in as Watson. Oh. Just gonna put me in the corner. Or not the corner, but I'm just gonna be facing the wall. Alright. Chairing? Oh, I found the first clue. Oh, look at that. Second Charing Station Cross. You did it. Good job. All clues have been collected. Should I just leave? Do I just leave? I don't know. It doesn't tell me what I'm supposed to do next. Was I supposed to leave? Have you made any new discoveries? Please send me the clues you have gathered so far. I have found... Oh, shoot. I have found several words written upon a wall which together spell Charing Cross Station. This appears to be a place in London. Charing Cross Station. It lies at the very heart of London and serves as one of the city's principal railway and underground hubs. There may well be vital clues hidden there. I shall go there at once and contact you again tomorrow. Brain, stop trying to finish the sentence and just let my eyes read the words. Following the lead you provided, I have searched Charing Cross Station thoroughly. No sign of the suspect was found, but upon a wall I discovered a suspicious handwritten note. I suspect Porlock uses such notes to send messages concealing vital information within them. Decipher the contents at once. Should you recognize a familiar location therein, go there without delay. In all probability, he will have left further clues at that spot. Find flowers. Moon River Park. Really? Really? You couldn't have made it a little difficult? You literally underscored. Yeah, you literally underlined. That's the one I wanted to say. Moon River and Park. Hyde Park under the words. Underline words. I mean, they H-Y-D and E spells hide from what that says. Anyway, moon nights by the dancing river through the park. Under soft blooms, every petal a line, carrying golden, gentle fragrance, words of love. Moon River Park. Maybe the clue is hidden there. I should take a look. I should go pay a visit. Alright. Let's go to Moon River Park. Even though technically it's supposed to be Moonlit River Park, but for some reason they changed. They took away the lit in Moonlit, so it's not lit no more. Read between the lines? No, I'm kidding. Oh, blue! Blue! I knew it. I knew it was blue all along. Blueberry. Blueberry. I'm sending this clip to you when I get the chance. Read blue letters. Hyde. Hyde Park. Hyde Park. I solved it. I solved the thing before even coming to this gosh darn place. What do you mean? I already beat it. I'm so good. I'm so good at this. It's Hyde Park. I'm getting way too excited. Way too aggressive for this. It's supposed to be easy. You gotta go to Hyde Park. Read blue letters. I recall that handwritten note bore several letters in blue. Examine them carefully. Blah 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 blah. Yes, Hyde Park. Upon reading the blue letters, I have discerned a clue from the note. Hyde Park. Hyde Park, one of London's great parks in the heart of the city. If clues are hidden there, they will not easily be detected by the police. I shall search for what Porlock may have left there and contact you again tomorrow. I have examined Hyde Park with care, but saw no trace of the suspect. However, I did find a curious scrap posted upon a telegraph pole. The handwriting appears to be Porlock's. The paper mentions Sacred Heart Hospital, which seems to refer to a location within Oletus Manor. Please verify this message and then inspect the site itself. Okay, A1B354CD. Examine the back. Sacred Heart Hospital. A, B, C, D, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So that's supposed to be like the map. B and 4 would technically be like where Shack is. Guess we'll figure it out. Alright, Watson, let's go. This one seems to be a little tougher. Alright, oh, these are the words! Like, those are supposed to be, like, words. If I remember correctly. That was it! That's it! I don't even know what that would be, because the first two would have to be the same letter. That would have to be something, and that would have to be something. Guess we'll leave for now. See what happens. Alright, we're gonna wait for this. Oh, there we go. Oh, okay, it's supposed to be, so it's gonna be 2-2-B1, isn't it? Sorry, it's gonna be 2-1-B. I'm sorry, I forgot the 1. It may correspond to one of the clues we have in our possession. Open that clue once more and compare it. Yeah, okay. It's gonna be 2-1-B. Bam. Okay. So they're heading to Sherlock's home, pretty much. My solution to the puzzle is 221B. Is this an address? 221B, the address most famously refers to the residence and consulting rooms of a certain detective. I shall visit the spot and make a search in the vicinity, then report to you tomorrow. While searching near 221B Baker Street for traces left by Porlock, a young woman dressed in a boy's attire handed me a paper covered with strange figures. I photographed several objects in the room, and I suspect that one of these images may be closely connected to the designs on the paper. I trust you will identify the most critical of these photographs and interpret the meaning behind the curious symbols. If you find the answer, send it to me without delay. Why y'all gotta do Wendy dirty like that? Who cares if she's dressed in boy's attire? Like, let her. Stop getting on to her. Let her wear pants. Tracy too. Interpret the clue on the first note using the photographs found in the rooms. Covent, Scotland, S, or apostrophe S, Wood, Garden, St. John's, Yard, Garden. There's 2 gardens. Okay. Interpret the clues. Okay. Okay. One, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, so the first one's gonna be St. John's, right? St. John's Wood. So is it gonna be the circle, the big, and then the circle? Well, that would be John. None of them is that, other than wood. St. John's Wood. St. John's Garden? No. Okay, so I got St. John's right. It is wood! I should have just trusted my gut. It just sounded weird. St. John's Wood? Like that, I don't know. That doesn't sound like a place. A trail points to a place that has the sound of a location named St. John's Wood. Do you know it? St. John's Wood that lies in the northwest of London, a district of fine residence. I did not expect poor Lot to have hidden clues there as well. I shall investigate it and contact you again tomorrow, the next day. There's been a major breakthrough. Your clues led me to the target in the banquet hall. The target is about to meet someone important. Our best shot at exposing the mastermind. Here is the floor plan of the banquet hall. I must choose a vantage point that is discreet yet offers a clear line of sight to help me capture crucial evidence. 1. A full unobstructed view of both individuals. 2. A clear shot of the sword at the target's waist, a position concealed behind the only piece of cover to hide any sign of surveillance. Where should I take this photograph? Oh, god damn. What? Okay, hold on. Okay, 1. A full unobstructed view of both individuals, a clear shot of the sword at the target's waist, a position concealed behind the only piece of cover to hide any sign of surveillance. Honestly, my choices are B or D. C is not very well guarded. D would be nice because then you can just hide behind the suit of armor that's right there. And it has a back view of the sword. F is too much in the open. E might not be good because the person with the sword might be covering the other person, and same with A. C is kind of in the open, so yeah, it's either gonna be B or D. B is kind of nice because it's a table. Here it seems impossible to meet all the 3 conditions. Okay, so then let's try. Really? So it's neither B or D. C. What? How is it C? Okay, well, whatever. That's the only other place I can think of. Yes, this is the spot. The photo is taken. It captures a secret meeting. With it, we could reveal the figure behind the criminal network. Ithaca! And that's freaking Mary! Thank you, visitor. Through your brilliant deductions, you've helped me bring this case to its close. Please await further news. Beyond the fog between each passing moment, another adventure may already be beginning. You got that right. I got a whole story to tell now. The Frozen Lie. Right. Actually, you know what? Let's do our polls real quick, because I don't have the 10. That's right. I got the 800 instead. Ha, just kidding. We're saving those for Melly's essence. Alright. Case investigation. Let's go. Chapter 1. Return to 221B. I like how there's no spaces. It's okay. Though the case surrounding the Wrath of Cerberus had come to a close, the story of that unforgettable consulting detective was far from reaching its final chapter. Following the affair of Mr. Bevel's fatal fall, my editorial duties at the newspaper kept me so engaged that I had not seen Mr. Sherlock Holmes for many weeks. One day, as I passed down Baker Street, an irresistible impulse came upon me to call upon the consulting detective. I wished to thank him in person for the dossier he and Mr. John Watson had forwarded to me concerning the recent case of artwork laundering, and also to learn into what new problem his brilliant mind was presently engaged. I tapped gently at the door of 221B. It was opened by the gracious landlady who, despite our having met but once before, greeted me with a warm smile and ushered me politely into the familiar living room. Months had passed, yet little had changed. Holmes was absent from the room. Only his companion, Dr. Watson, was present, bent over a file upon the desk, his brow knit with concentration. At my arrival, he closed the index with a smile of welcome. Hello, Mr. Dr. John Watson. Not Mr., I'm sorry, very sorry. Ever courteous, he appeared just now somewhat troubled. Medium in stature, possessed of a physician's polished manner, yet with an unmistakable traces of the soldier. He carried with him that faint odor of iodine. Hello, Dr. Watson. I happened to be passing and thought to pay my respects. My thanks to you and to Mr. Holmes for the material you sent. Miss Alice, a pleasure indeed. Make yourself at home. If I may ask, what are you reading? It is an index of a case dating back some 5 years. I took the liberty of glancing at the file. It proved to be a somewhat untidy compilation of autopsy reports, police records, and brief witness statements, interspersed with Holmes' own marginalia. This is an index which Holmes himself retrieved from the archives this very morning. He frequently remarks that while it would be strange to know 1,000 cases and falter upon the 1,001st, it is stranger still not to revisit the old to illuminate the new. It is his habit to catalog his cases with labels for ease of reference. Dr. Watson explained with the utmost patience, though my attention had already been wholly captured by the contents of the file. And why did he look into this one in particular? I suspect it was prompted by a note that arrived today. Holmes read it, fetched his file, glanced through it, and left the house in haste. I was attempting to fathom the truth behind the matter, but I confess to make no headway. What? Why'd you say that twice? A case Holmes himself compiled? It must have been a remarkable adventure. Indeed, would it interest you to examine it together? Holmes will not be back for some time. I was already intrigued and readily accepted his invitation, seating myself beside him to look over the case. The attempt on the second hair of Bohemia, the photograph mounted in the file seemed a news clipping, a portrait of the victim, the second heir apparent to the Bohemian throne. This account draws largely from the recollections of a certain lady, Miss Irene Adler. According to Holmes' notes, he considered her testimony reliable in every particular. Ahem. Watson cleared his throat and read aloud. The affair occurred at a private banquet of the Bohemian royal household. Chapter 2, The Concealed Past. Guided by Dr. Watson's narration, we return to the royal ballroom of Bohemia 5 years past to the fateful night of the murder. Oh, hi! The affair occurred at a private banquet of the Bohemian royal household. At that time, I was still engaged as principal contralto at the Warsaw Opera and had accepted the Hare's invitation to attend. The atmosphere was tranquil, no hint of coming misfortune. Yet, from the instant I reached out for that banquet and its accompanying card, I suspect I had stepped unwittingly into a snare long prepared. To the esteemed lady, to the most distinguished Miss Irene Adler. Tonight will not be a quiet one. Guard your secret well. The photograph shall be the key to the performance to follow. You, too, are a principal actor in this drama, and it will not be long before eyes are upon you. As for certain plans you share with that gentleman, they shall one day be known to all. Accept this token of regard and enjoy the evening. The banquet and card had been placed in my lounge before my arrival. The letter gave me pause, and in reading it, I upset the vase, shattering it upon the table. Fortunately, my room, the second lounge room, was situated down a narrow passage and fitted with a heavy door. It was unlikely anyone would detect the disturbance. I fixed my gaze upon the card, intent on discerning the sender's identity and purpose. The paper was fine and stiff, certainly from a hand of consequence. Its phrasing was impeccably polite, yet carried an undertone of undeniable menace. The card bore no name, no mark by which the sender might be traced. A stranger could penetrate the guarded precincts of the royal banquet and leave such gifts was most disquieting. A lover's token, a friend's jest, an enemy's threat. An enemy's threat, this seemed the likeliest conclusion. The wording of the letter was likewise suggestive, as though the sender were hinting at something. A secret. Did they wish me to keep some confidential matter? A photograph. Was the threat intended to extort me for a photograph? Concealment. Did they suspect I had hidden something? Whatever the truth, the warning could not be ignored. To receive such a letter in my lounge at a private royal banquet meant this place was no longer safe. I must leave at once. I pushed open the door and stepped out from the center of the three lounges, past the tightly closed door of the first, and brushed past a waiter engaged in cleaning. His gaze lingered on me for a moment, unashamedly curious. I lowered my eyes and hastened away while he appeared to proceed deeper along the corridor. Suddenly, oh! Wah! A terrified cry broke the stillness. I turned to behold the same waiter, his face blanched, standing before the open door of the third lounge. Someone has fallen inside! Quick, fetch help! I like that he's moving. At his urgent solicitation, and I and the same waiter together summoned the guards stationed at the banquet hall entrance and returned to the doorway of the third lounge. The guard went in to examine and emerged moments later, his countenance grave, exchanging a few quick words with the waiter. Then he came directly to me where I waited and coldly informed me that I was now a suspect in a murder. Only minutes before, the second heir to the Bohemian throne had died in that room. Chapter 3. The Irrefutable Testimony. A letter, courteous in tone yet edged with menace, sets the case in motion. Wait, Dr. Watson. This affair seems most peculiar. As a journalist, I have never heard of such an assassination within the Bohemian royal family. Ordinarily, the matter of this nature would cause a tremendous sensation. Perhaps the royal household has suppressed the news. Yet the file contains further material suggesting there may be hidden circumstances. Let us read on. I nodded in agreement, my intention returning to the case, focusing upon the autopsy report in the index. Perhaps owing to the victim's rank, the authorities performed only a cursory autopsy before the royal guard hastily removed the body. The victim died within a lounge at the far end of the corridor. The chamber was richly appointed and situated in a most secluded position, making it unlikely the perpetrator left any obvious trace. Nonetheless, the immediate predicament seemed graver than the task of discovering the true culprit, for the constable continually asserted that they held irrefutable proof of my guilt. Who are you? You're not Jose. Miss Irene Adler, you were also a guest at the banquet this evening. Indeed, I have a certain private acquaintance with the second tier. Private acquaintance? I have heard your relations with the deceased were rather uncommon. Doubtless a crime of passion would be entirely within your capabilities. I could not fathom why he was so fixed upon naming me as the murderer. His speech was uncommonly cunning. Your evidence, sir? Without evidence, the accusation does not stand. The scene bears a message, and there is also a witness who saw you leaving the room with a most unusual expression. The royal family has empowered us fully to apprehend the killer. Miss Adler, have you anything to say? I have not committed murder. I was in the second lounge the entire time and never entered the victim's chamber. Even if I am suspected, I reserve the right to defend myself. Before any conclusion is drawn, I wish to examine the scene personally. Still defiant, are you? Very well. Your identification of the scene will be useful, but I shall keep my eyes upon you. Do not attempt any trickery. I followed the constable into the royal banquet lounge. The furnishings were exquisite, the air faintly tainted with a metallic scent, and the layout matched closely the room I had occupied earlier. Holy buttons! Okay, let's start with the blood, I guess. In the bloodstained layout photograph clip, its contents still inside. On the floor, there was a name written in blood, my name, its strokes complete and even. Was this the evidence intended to condemn me? Upon the floor lay a small patch of blood. Let's do the mirror for pictures. The cabinet had been opened and rifled, yet the photographs atop it remained neatly in place. Throughout the room were subtle signs of having been searched. Scattered upon the floor lay a silver pillbox, resembling a personal possession of the king, now entirely empty. The corridor contained 3 lounges, all luxuriously adorned, each with similar layout and appointments. This was the 3rd. Upon the table rested a fine jewelry box marked with the number corresponding to this room. Many photographs hung in orderly arrangement upon the wall. And now the vents. There were no windows, only a single ventilation grill connecting to the other lounges. From the autopsy, the victim showed signs of acute poisoning, with death occurring within a short time of ingestion. The victim's fingertips were also stained with blood. The writing upon the floor bore your name. This was the testament of the deceased. The evidence is complete. What possible defense remains to you? The crime of murdering the heir is grave. You must be taken for questioning. Acute poisoning, death within seconds? Excellent. I had drawn my conclusion. The danger confronting me was not without remedy. Given the autopsy, I'm certain the true culprit seeks to frame me. Surely you perceive what it means, Constable? If he died instantly, how would he be able to write Irene, right? Under such a rapid onset of poison, the victim could not have written so neat and even a script. Ha ha ha! Ha! Yes, this is no statement but forged evidence. You! It seems. The constable was momentarily at a loss, his face even flushing crimson. I thought the matter might at last be turning in my favor, but then, why are you so intent? Why are you so intent on making my girl the murderer, okay? She's already been through a lot, okay? And 2 other different stories as different people. Stop putting my girl through all this. Constable, you must not let her go. She is the murderer. I had only just begun cleaning when I saw the gracious crown prince walk toward the lounge. He was strikingly dressed, and his height nearly matched the suits of armor lining the corridor. He left a strong impression on me. And now he's been poisoned by her, Constable. She's clearly the killer. I saw it with my own eyes. What? What? Boy, if you don't. You just said you saw Miss Adler leaving the victim's room. How exactly did that happen? Yes, sir. All through the banquet, I was responsible for cleaning the corridor from the entrance to the far end. I never left my post, so everything I saw is exactly as it happened. From a distance, I heard raised voices coming from the third lounge, and the sound of a vase smashing. Hearing an argument from outside a closed door, strange. I meant to take a look, but the door was tightly shut, so I kept working. A short while later, she came out of the third lounge, right by the suit of armor, looking flustered. She glanced at me, then hurried away, definitely suspicious. Later, I discovered the body. I made sure to call her along as I went to find help to stop her from destroying evidence. I see, your story is clear enough. Ms. Adler's does seem suspicious. What? Bro, I'm about to jump into this phone and beat you guys up. I haven't stepped inside that room, but there's no evidence to prove otherwise. The sound of a vase breaking, interesting. That could be the key to challenging both the constable and the witness. You say you heard arguing and a vase shattered near the third lounge? I can prove that's impossible. The quiet lounge. Within a deep, secluded, narrow corridor were 3 blah blah, affording excellent soundproofing. Yep, that's the one. The lounge doors are heavy and well soundproofed. You couldn't have heard anything from the corridor. But unless the vase broke against the door itself. According to the police investigations, there were no glass shards found inside the third lounge. That suggests no vase was broken here at all. But that detail is oddly specific. Breaking a vase isn't the sort of thing you'd invent on the spot. If he really did hear it, then he couldn't have been in the corridor at the time. Exactly. The witness probably heard it through the room's ventilation shaft. At the time of the incident, I broke a vase in the second lounge directly next to the scene. The pieces are still on the table. I welcome an inspection of the lounge. I'll verify your statement. The door to the second lounge was closed the whole time, so I believe the witness heard the sound from my room through the ventilation shaft. That does make some sense, but hearing it through a vent, that would mean... You there, the waiter. Yes. You said you stayed in the corridor the whole time? Yes, I'm telling the truth. What vent? You, my muddled friend, are lying. Should I spell it out? You didn't hear the vase from the corridor. What? Were you in the third lounge committing the murder and happened to hear? I couldn't have. I never entered the victim's lounge. But you definitely heard something you couldn't have heard from the corridor. Think. Fine. I was actually in the first lounge. I was cleaning earlier and I slipped in to rest. I'm new here and I wanted to see how luxurious it was, so I crept inside. What? I closed the door and stayed there alone for a while. I was just resting. Do you have proof of your whereabouts? Proof? If not, Constable, he's looking like a strong suspect himself. Yes, I do. This jewelry box. I kept it for a while. Numbered jewelry box? You stole from a royal lounge, and that bright red hair. You look oddly familiar. I've heard about the London bank robbery, and the warrants reached even here. You work like a seasoned thief. Wait, the lounge wasn't locked. The door was ajar. If it hadn't been, I wouldn't have gone in. We'll deal with the theft later, but your credibility as a witness is now badly weakened. You better start telling the truth. Yes. But I really did see her coming out of the victim's room. I wasn't lying about that. Quiet. The false confession is gone, and the only eyewitness has been caught lying. Constable, I believe I may take my leave now. But this is an enclosed area, and it's hard for an outsider to get into a royal lounge. So who is the killer? Yes, an enclosed setting, a threatening letter, and a murder charge. Who did it and why? him up. Possible. The threatening letter, forged letters in the blood, and the ransacked room and the photograph slip lying on the blood. A theft. Possible. The killer went through the victim's belongings and took his photograph slip. The whole room had been searched as well. Even the cabinet, the photos on display were untouched, but the lower compartments had been opened. Was the killer searching for photos? The photos. The threatening letter mentioned a photograph too. The killer's goal was clearly to find that photograph. Chapter 4. An unusual commission. Through Miss Adler's eyes, every buried detail of that old affair emerges anew, yet beneath the fog and amidst the play of light and shadow, what truth still lies concealed? The room fell silent. Dr. Watson thought for a long time while I eagerly took up the case index, wanting to see what happened next. Holmes index. Holmes' handwritten notes. At the end of the index were a few brief remarks in Holmes' hand, but enough to make the case more puzzling. With no conclusive evidence and the only witness a man with a criminal past and contradictory testimony who was later detained, the scene could not be used to identify Irene as the killer. The royal family claimed that their members used doubles in public, and the deceased was the stand-in for the crown prince, second in line to the throne. After the attempted assassination to protect the prince's safety, the matter was barred from discussion. Irene resigned from the opera under suspicion, went into exile, and eventually settled in England. Later, when the first in line to the throne died in an accident, the second in line succeeded, becoming the current king of Bohemia. The former second prince rarely appeared in public. This photo Holmes cut from an old newspaper may show one of the few times he did. Irene's own account is short, but it's enough to convey how dangerous the case truly was. Autopsy report. Cause of death, poisoning. Signs of acute intoxication. Death occurred shortly after ingestion.
Wait.
No.
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 Wait, am I not muted? Oops, my bad.
Oh no, you're good. Blood at the mouth and nose, traces on the fingertips of the right hand, no other visible injuries. What, a double? The case was closed because of this twist in the victim's identity. Even if he was only a stand-in, it shouldn't have been dismissed so quickly. Perhaps because it was a royal scandal and related to the prince's safety, it never reached the papers. Holmes must have gone to considerable trouble to collect these notes. According to the record, the waiter saw the victim walking towards the lounge. Later, while cleaning, he heard an argument. Soon after, he saw Miss Adler leaving the third lounge, distressed, and found the body. Then the waiter and Miss Adler sought out the constable, entered the crime scene, and the waiter accused her of murder, though she knew nothing about it. It sounds simple, but the killer... And what's the link between this index and the note I received this morning? On the surface, it's just an ordinary letter of commission. Yes, Miss Alice, do you see anything in it? I read the note silently to myself. A gentleman will call at 7:45 this evening to discuss a matter of the utmost importance. You have recently aided a European royal family. The commission now entrusted to you concerns a matter of the highest seriousness, and you are considered entirely trustworthy. Such facts are known widely. We need not explain further. Please do not leave at the appointed time. Should the caller wear a mask, do not be alarmed. It is for your own good. The wording is precise, and the paper is of excellent quality. I can only guess the client is someone of considerable standing. Beyond that, I can't tell much. At that moment, footsteps came on the stairs, the door opened, and in walked the consulting detective himself. Good evening and welcome, Miss Watson. John, you look troubled. Holmes set his pipe upon the table and gave a wary smile. Ah, good evening, Mr. Holmes. What secret does this note hide? The case from years ago is full of unanswered questions. What was the truth? Was the killer caught? And what happened to Miss Adler? Holmes smiled and shook his head. He said nothing, but I felt certain he knew the answers. I don't have enough facts to build a case yet. The biggest mistake is to theorize before having the facts, because you start bending the facts to suit your theory. Still, even from this note, we can deduce quite a lot. John, Miss Alice, can you make anything of it? Dr. Watson picked up the thick pink paper, examining the handwriting and the sheet itself, following Holmes' method in search of a clue. The writer is probably wealthy. This paper is expensive, unusually firm and crisp. Exactly, but I don't believe this paper was made in Britain. Hold it up to the light and see for yourselves. Dr. Watson tilted the note toward the lamp, and I leaned in curiously. A faint pattern emerged in the paper that immediately caught my attention. Oh. Perhaps we can guess what those letters stand for. A secret code from the market. From the maker, not market. Haha. Bold thinking, but such a code can be revealed easily with light, so any respectable manufacturer wouldn't leave so sloppy a cipher. Perhaps we can guess what those letters stand for. The maker's name. A reasonable guess, but these mixed upper and lowercase letters follow no obvious pattern. They don't look like an abbreviation of a name. Perhaps we can guess what those letters. Blah blah blah. Fine. Paper's origin. Correct. The G and the T stands for Gesellschaft, and German equivalent for R Co for company. P means papier for paper. As for e.g., the Continental Gazetteer tells me it likely refers to Egria, a place in a German-speaking country, namely Bohemia, not far from Carlsbad. Which means this paper was manufactured in Bohemia. Well done, Watson. I can't think of a more reasonable deduction for this note's origin. Dr. Watson and I were both excited. A note from Bohemia, the assassination attempt on the Bohemian crown prince 5 years ago. The connection hinted at a deeper intrigue. And what is the purpose of a man who uses Bohemian paper and hides his face behind a mask? Look, if I'm not mistaken, he's here and he will shatter all our doubts. Come, Watson, the game is afoot. As much as we both wanted to see the story unfold, it seemed clear that a client of such status would prefer no outsiders present. We decided to take our leave. Watson, please stay. Without my own Boswell, I'd be quite lost. And you too, Miss Alice. Surely you wouldn't want to miss a case destined to make headlines? This one promises to be interesting. Just as I hesitated, heavy, commanding footsteps echoed from the corridor, followed by a sharp knock on the door. Come in. Holmes had hardly spoken when the door was pushed open without ceremony, revealing a figure identical to the blurred photograph in the case file index, formerly the second in line to the Bohemian throne, now king himself. Ithaca! Chapter 5, The King of Bohemia. I was not expecting that, animation. As we pondered the peculiarities... Yeah, I think that's how it's of the note in the sitting room of 221B Baker Street, the door was pushed open without ceremony, revealing blah blah blah. Okay, I already read that. Though curiosity burned in me, the client's manner was far from welcoming. Evening was drawing in, so I excused myself, telling Watson I would gladly follow the case's progress. For several days, other business kept me from it. When I returned to Baker Street, I discovered a breakthrough had occurred. Holmes was deep in thought with his violin, while Dr. Watson looked sullen. At my prompt, he told me what had happened. The man's voice was deep, hoarse, with a strong German accent. You may call me Count von Kram. I am of the Bohemian nobility. In the lamplight, I studied the masked visitor. The black mask gave his face an imposing air. On his collar sat a pin set with a flame-shaped emerald. Board bands of lambskin edged the sleeves and front opening of his double-breasted coat. High leather boots rose to the calf, trimmed with dark brown fur, blending wildness with luxury. You're not troubled by the mask, I hope. The patron who sent me didn't wish you to know the identity of his agent. In fact, the name I just gave you isn't my real title. I know. This is delicate work. We must take every precaution to prevent a full-blown scandal that could gravely damage a royal house of Europe. Frankly, this matter would involve the great house of Ornstein, hereditary kings of Bohemia. Relax, the crown prince assassination intent was hushed up so tightly that it never caused a scandal. I imagine a marriage would stir even less trouble. What? Marriage? How do you know that? Have you been investigating me? No investigations needed. From the moment I received the note, I deduced I was to speak with His Royal Majesty Wilhelm Gotrek. Oh my god. What? Sigismund von Ormstein, Grand Duke of Cassel Felstein, the hereditary king of Bohemia. Bro, what are these words? What are these names? Alright, yes, you're right. I am the king. No need for pretense. I hope you understand. If I confide in a detective too easily, I put myself entirely at their mercy. Perhaps no one can easily put your majesty at anyone's mercy, but you have come with a matter to entrust. Please state it. Holmes, somewhat weary, reclined in his armchair, his keen eyes fixed narrowly upon the client before him. Very well. I was once involved with a young woman. I am to marry Clotilde Lothman von Saxe-Meiningen, the second princess of the king of Scandinavia. Her family is strict. Any hint of infidelity would end the marriage. The woman I left behind bears a grudge and will ruin me. Did you marry her secretly or sign any documents proving your relationship? No. Then how can she ruin you? She has a letter in my hand, private notes, and my seal. Forging handwriting and seals is easy enough. She has a photograph of me. Bribing your servants would be no trouble either. A photograph showing us both 6 inches across, clear as day. Oh dear, that's far worse. It leaves your majesty most indiscreet. I was mad at the time, not thinking clearly. I was only the crown prince then. Her conduct was never above reproach, ever plotting, ever engaged in intrigues fit to ruin any reputation. I tried everything: bribery, hired theft, swapping luggage during her travels, even waylaying her, but she is cautious and you got nowhere. It seems our opponent has quite the resourcefulness. What is this clever lady's name? Is it freaking Irene? Yeah, it is. Irene Adler. What? For that photograph, I would give one of my provinces. I glanced at Holmes. He gave no outward reaction to the name, only lazily inquiring about the fee. The king left the promise of a lavish payment, suspiciously generous for such a case. Splendid, Holmes. Oh, Watson? I don't see this case as difficult. I've thought of several ways to get a photograph from this Irene Adler. I thought you wouldn't care, but now your eyes are shining. Ha, Watson, you're right. It is a simple case, but you've been looking, not observing. Observing? There's a difference. Take the stairs from the hall to this flat. You've seen them hundreds of times, yes? Countless since I moved in. How many steps? Not the slightest clue. Exactly. You looked but didn't observe. That's the point. I happen to know there are 17 steps. Observation is the key to seeing what's hidden. Observation, I see, but the records do confirm some private connection between Irene Adler and the king, matching the king's own account. Watson, you don't realize it. You've just noticed the most crucial link in the whole chain. A case is like a great chain. See one link clearly and you grasp its nature. The letter of commission, the king, and the index. The king may be of little consequence, but the case is far more intriguing than it first appears. Chapter 6. Holy crap, how long is this? Infiltration. Sherlock Holmes, resolute as ever, seemed assured of his course, while both Dr. Watson and I found our curiosity ever more entangled in the secrets beneath it all. And then, did you go to Miss Adler? Did you see her? Find the photograph? After Dr. Watson finished recounting his dealings with the king, I couldn't help but ask eagerly. Patience, Miss Alice. This is where it gets interesting. The plan was nothing like what I first imagined. So, Holmes, do you have a plan to recover the photograph? Ha, with what I know of Miss Adler, getting the photograph will be easy. You already have the winning move, I see. What is it? Watson, the key is to understand our subject fully. In fact, the moment I got the note, I made preparations. The moment you got the note? Precisely. The moment I got the name and searched her name in the index, I put Wiggins to watch her house. You expected we'd visit her? More than that, I knew from the start that the photograph in the index would lead to a major case. Watson, getting the photograph shouldn't be difficult. Perhaps the first thing we should consider is, where is it most likely kept? Where might Miss Irene Adler have hidden the photograph? Perhaps she keeps it on her person so the king couldn't find it if he slips into her home? Unlikely. It's a 6-inch photograph, too large to hide in a woman's clothing. Besides, she knows the king would intercept her. It's already happened twice. We can therefore assume she would not carry the photograph with her. Where might Miss blah 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 blah. Perhaps she entrusted the photograph to another person so the king repeated searches would fail. Unlikely. As His Majesty described, she is too careful to give away possession of such vital evidence. Man. Very possible. According to Wiggins, Irene is highly cautious and constantly aware of her surroundings. With someone so alert, such an important item would be kept somewhere she can control at all times. Knowing where the photograph is hidden makes everything much simpler. Simple. Do you have a plan to slip into its hiding place without anyone noticing? No, Watson. The best method is, of course, to have Miss Adler hand the photograph over to us of her own accord. That sounds impossible. Trust me, Watson, it is not. But first we must think carefully about how to get inside Irene's house. Tell her you're Sherlock Holmes. I mean, that could work. Then how should we gain entry to Irene's home? Win her sympathy. I think winning someone's...
I need to go to bed now.
Alrighty.
Alrighty, good night.
Night night. Win her sympathy. I think winning someone's sympathy is always a good choice. Indeed, few people would ignore an elderly man who collapses in distress. Your skill in disguise will be useful again. Once inside her home, we still won't know where the photograph is. Next, we need to pinpoint the hiding place more precisely. Then how do we pinpoint where the photograph is kept? How do we pinpoint? Ask directly in earnest. Stage an accident. Perhaps we could stage an accident. A fine idea. If we create an accident, the lady might lead us straight to where the photograph is hidden. Finally, we must decide how to create the perfect accident. Stage a kidnapping. Darn. Perhaps we could stage a kidnapping. As with Robert, I thought I could manage. I don't think we can start a fire, right? No, really? Start a fire? We could cause a fire. An excellent method. When a person's home is ablaze, they instantly rush to save what they value most. In Miss Adler's home, there is nothing she values more than the item we seek. I have used this method more than once before. That makes sense. So we win Miss Adler's sympathy to enter her home, then start a fire so she takes us to the hiding place herself. Exactly, Watson. A perfect plan. When the fire breaks out, I, a gentle, harmless Protestant minister, will feign illness and rest on Irene's sofa. I will need you to carry out the crucial step. Shout fire at the top of your lungs. Holmes' confidence was enough to give me a headache. Ah well, we are not here to harm the lady, only to prevent her from harming others. Still, Holmes setting a fire in the home of a lady doesn't sound especially proper. London's most famous detective using such a method to infiltrate my house, I say that is hardly proper, Mr. Sherlock Holmes. We sat together on Miss Irene Adler's sofa, smoke still hung in the air as my companion calmly removed his disguise. With his wide-brimmed hat gone, the kindly planned Protestant minister vanished, and my detective flatmate winked at me. I trust you are satisfied with the photograph's hiding place, Mr. Holmes? Before we could declare ourselves, she had already divined our identities, and I shrank beneath Miss Adler's discerning gaze and studied the ornaments of the room. Sheet music lay upon the piano. Surely melodies often filled this home. The corner fireplace, that is where she kept the photograph. When the fire broke out, she took it from there. To fulfill the commission, the detective staged a splendid performance, sparing no effort to achieve his goal. The quality of the performance is enough for me to overlook the dubious motive behind it. The principal figure from the case files, a suspect in the 5-year-old affair, now stood before us. Her face was composed and beautiful. Through our somewhat improper scheme, she kept only the faintest, perhaps mocking smile. When Holmes collapsed on the sofa in feigned distress, Irene tended to him with care. I could still see the presence of the former prima donna in her bearing. I will not refuse your request. You may take the photograph at any time and put the king's mind at ease. What I want is not the photograph, Miss Adler. You guessed wrong. Unlike the king, I am interested only in one thing. Your story, Miss Adler, is enough to lift me from boredom and mediocrity. I want to know the secret behind that old case, the secret only you know. So this is the trade? Precisely. The secret of an old case and the photograph? Then let us see what the detective can offer in return. Find the true culprit in that case and you won't need the photograph anymore, nor to hide here in fear. I see. Indeed, I am interested. I have thought over the case many times since, but I've never uncovered the murderer. So London's most famous detective, what truth will you deduce? Curiously, Miss Adler seemed less concerned with who the culprit was and more intrigued to hear the reasoning itself. In this case, one key piece of evidence against you came from the waiter's testimony. Yes, even though his theft exposed him and invalidated the testimony, I don't think he lied about what he saw. His certainty and his honesty about the theft to save himself make me believe he truly reported what he witnessed. But please believe me, I was never in the victim's room. Then if neither you nor the waiter lied, what surely happened that day? What is the truth, Watson? You have a sharp instinct and rich imagination. Can you unlock the key to the puzzle? I don't know exactly what happened, but I'd guess both told the truth. Both told the truth. I think they both told the truth, and the outcome was exactly what the killer foresaw. A bold guess, Watson. So what did the killer do to make both witnesses give true but conflicting accounts? Let us return to the scene. There must be more details worth noting. The corridor was deep, secluded, and narrow, with 3 lounges along one side. The door was minimal, nothing striking to catch its decor was minimal, nothing striking to catch the eye. By the door to the second lounge stood a tall suit of armor. Did they dress themselves up in that? The lighting was dim, making it easy to lose one's sense of direction and distance. You are observant, Watson. You have summarized the corridor's key features. The waiter said he was new, the man unfamiliar with the place, entering a long corridor where directions is easily lost. What might happen? Mistake the room. Yes, the witness stated he saw Irene running from the third lounge beside the armor. That shows he used the armor to judge the room numbers. So someone deliberately misled the cleaning waiter to identify Irene. But there was another incident that day. The theft. Exactly. Because of the theft, the witness wasn't watching the corridor, but was inside the empty first lounge stealing. The culprit who misled him was, I suspect, the killer. But how could the killer know? Do you remember, Watson? That witness was a habitual thief who even involved in a famed bank robbery and was only temporarily hired to clean the banquet hall. With such a key witness would be cautious killer choosing him without prior investigation. Would a cautious. Impossible unless the killer did so intentionally. The killer even used a simple action to increase his chance of stealing. Watson, guess what the killer did to manipulate a habitual thief? The ajar door. The waiter said he stole because the room's door was unlocked. Wait, the lounge wasn't locked. The door was ajar. If it hadn't been, I wouldn't have gone in. But why would the killer do that? And once theft occurred, the witness accusations would be invalidated. That's risky. Because the killer needed a witness to accuse Irene and not be able to watch the corridor at the time of the crime. We deduced earlier that the killer wanted to make the waiter mistake the room. I think the killer wanted the chance to... open armor direction. Oh, monitor armor position. Move. Okay. I only did it because of the way that the things were set. Position of the armor. Exactly. They needed to move the armor to confuse the waiter so that he misjudged the room based on the armor's position. And for a time, there was no one in the corridor to witness anything. The killer had ample time to murder the crown prince's double and escape. It seemed odd at first, but remembering the 17 steps at 221B Baker Street, I myself overlooked familiar paths every day, so misleading a newcomer in a dim hallway was entirely possible. Miss Adler, I believe this is the perfect answer, is it not? Bear in mind, without evidence, all reasoning is mere accusations. I do have evidence rooted in your memory. It can't be shown in court, but you remember the armor's position before entering the lounge, don't you? Before I entered the lounge, the suit of armor was positioned just outside the second lounge. I see. Yes, that is perfect evidence. The clue to break the case has long been in my hands. Wait, Holmes, we know the method now, so who is the killer? I think Miss Adler already knows. Indeed, Mr. Holmes, only a few people could manipulate a witness like that. But your answer about the killer's identity goes beyond that, doesn't it? If I make the killer's identity public, you might yet leave London and return to the opera. Considering your connections to the king. As the king's former lover, I think you underestimate the killer's power. It's so weird to hear that, and it's Ithaca? Ithaca and Bloody Queen. I mean, I guess. It's kind of cute. One who can flawlessly murder a crown princess double surely has the skill to achieve greater ambitions. For me, I want a bigger stage than the opera. Clearing suspicions is of little importance. I keep the photograph only for my own protection. It is a safeguard, a weapon that will forever shield me against whatever measures he might one day contrive. Give me my compliments to His Majesty. Tomorrow I trust he shall find his desire fulfilled. Good night, Mr. Holmes. Chapter 7. Secrets Behind the Lens. Will the photograph be recovered without mishaps? Will Miss Adler's name at last be cleared of every suspicion? I can but hope for a fitting conclusion. Watson described in detail his exchange with Miss Adler. I sensed much left unsaid between Holmes and her, but I could not fathom it. A killer able to exploit a person's nature and habits to manipulate a witness into giving damning testimony and frame Miss Adler is unlikely any case I've heard of. Now, I was in a carriage with Holmes and Watson en route to St. John's Wood, where Miss Adler's residence lay. We would meet the king there and take the photograph from her directly. Holmes still refused to name the killer. I couldn't see how anyone else in the case could be guilty. Patience, Watson. Once we have the photograph, the truth will come to light. Yet I never saw Miss Adler. When we arrived at Bryony Lodge, only the housekeeper waited at the door, coldly telling us Miss Adler had taken a train from Charing Cross to the continent early that morning. Holmes looked slightly disappointed, but he ignored the housekeeper's disdainful glance from the stairway and stepped straight into the sitting room. Miss Alice, try opening the hidden compartment above the fireplace. It is time to obtain what His Majesty desires. I looked at Holmes doubtfully. The king had not yet arrived, and it felt improper to take the photograph beforehand. Holmes signaled that I need not concern myself. Well, now, I should think His Majesty must have mistaken the appointed time. He will likely arrive about an hour later. An hour, I see. Holmes, you deliberately gave the wrong time so that you could see Miss Adler before the king arrived and secure the photograph early. Indeed, Watson, I have come to uncover the last secret left behind by Miss Irene Adler. A secret left for you? Precisely. Do you recall how she addressed us when we first met? London's most famous detective using such a method to infiltrate my house. I say that is hardly proper, Mr. Sherlock Holmes. She spoke your name and profession without hesitation, as though she had foreseen our meeting. More than that, she already knew our purpose, yet listened while we deducted the truth of an old case, and later admitted that the photograph the king sought was her means of protection. You see, retaining the evidence herself affords her security, while entrusting it to me might invite consequences and political repercussions no one could foresee. If she has relinquished the photograph, there are only two possibilities. Either the king no longer poses a threat to her, or she has entrusted that weapon to someone else. But Holmes, according to His Majesty, the photograph in Miss Adler's possession could imperil his marriage. What threat, then, could the king hold over her? The answer to these questions, I fear, lie only within that photograph. Miss Alice, if you please, open the secret compartment where Miss Adler has hidden it. Holmes drew out the photograph and a letter from the compartment. He studied the words to Mr. Sherlock Holmes written on the envelope for a moment, then picked up the photograph and smiled. I assume this is the photograph His Majesty commissioned us to find. However, things seem to have become rather interesting, do they not? I leaned in to examine the picture closely. To me, it appeared entirely ordinary. A gentleman and a lady meeting at a ball. Such a photograph could hardly prove that the king and Miss Adler had any private relationship. Mr. Holmes, it seems to me this photograph alone could not possibly ruin the king's betrothal. Miss Alice, you are quite perceptive. You are skilled in photography. Can you find anything unusual in this image? A suit of armor. Behind the king stood a suit of armor identical to the one in the hallway. It looks like the same piece. The photograph was taken in an opulent ballroom. Is this a gesture of kissing the hand? The king wore a sword at his left side. This is a fine photograph taken and printed using the dry plate process. There are no printing errors, so a mirrored image is impossible. For now, I see no signs of forgery. However, Miss Adler's hand is not placed upon the king supporting her left arm with his left hand. I do not believe this is in accordance with tradition. Miss Alice, your powers of observations are remarkable, and you should notice that this photograph contains a decorative item familiar to us. The photograph from the case file? Perhaps I should reconsider. Is it the armor? Yes, it is. 2 photographs hold the exact same decorative armor. I recall in the index that the waiter mentioned a decorative suit of armor in the hallway. I had only just begun cleaning when I saw the gracious crown prince walk towards the lounge. He was strikingly dressed, and his height nearly matched the suit of armor's lining in the corridor. He left a strong impression on me. The same ballroom, the same suit of armor, yet a difference in height. Could it be? Miss Alice, when you have eliminated the impossible, whatever remains, however improbable, must be the truth. In this matter, only one possibility remains. The man in the photograph and the person described in witness testimony as the second heir to the throne, the deceased of years past, are not the same. That may be the only explanation. But according to the files, the victim at that time was a double for the second heir to the throne of Bohemia. Even if we prove that the man in the photograph and the man seen dead by witnesses were different, and that there was a discrepancy in height between the heir and his double, what would that mean? Miss Alice, do you recall the contents of that index? The case was quickly closed because the victim was a double. A double. Wait, I have just noticed a detail in the photograph. At first I thought it was merely a breach of etiquette, but now I see it may reveal something far more important. A subconscious action most readily betrays the true self, and that lapse may indicate a clear indistinction between the double and the heir. The detail in the photograph proves the greatest difference between the double and the prince. Oh, his sword. It's this one, the one in the newspaper is taller than the one in the actual picture. Oh, no, the hands too. Oh. The king wears his sword always at his left side, which indicates that he habitually uses his right hand and thus carries his sword on the left. It is the crown prince's unconscious movements which show certainly that he is left-handed. I think a well-trained royal double would match the prince's every habitual detail. Therefore, when someone opposite fell, it was the double who instantly used his left hand to support Miss Adler. But this is only my conjecture. I have no proof. No, Miss Alice, the proof appeared before the moment you stepped into 221B and read that record with Watson. Oh my lords. Case file. What evidence appeared before me to show that the impostor was left-handed? Damn it. Oh, right here, ink smudges. A note bore faint scratches in the ink from left to right. The double must have received penmanship training to match the true prince's handwriting. You see, for one who is left-handed, imitating a right-handed handwriting with the non-dominant hand is far easier than attempting to twist years of ingrained habit in the opposite direction. Yet whether in that threatening letter or in the note we have received, the letter must have sought to conceal his identity as naturally as possible. Using his own little known original handwriting was, beyond doubt, the simplest means to do it, and that impostor king, his carelessness in letting ink stain his little finger betrayed the disguise. Perhaps the identity of the mastermind behind the events of 5 years ago has already come to light. Pictures from old photo. Okay. Figure from testimony. No. Figure from case file. Okay. Okay, no, that's not it. Reference object. Haha. I remember clearly that Miss Adler hinted that the mastermind must be of high station. I see. Now everything makes perfect sense. Indeed, Mr. Holmes, only a few people could manipulate a witness like that. The mastermind who framed Miss Adler was the former second heir to the throne of Bohemia, now His Majesty the King. Even so, though we may be certain the impostor is the culprit, one vital question remains unsolved. Whenever the double appeared in public, he disguised his height with care. Where, then, was the photograph taken? Watson, there is one final link missing in our reasoning. How did the murderer conceal himself in the corridor, and how did he escape the scene? To move the suit of armor between two lounges without notice, the culprit must have timed the corridor to be entirely empty. But there was no sign of him in any of the 3 lounges, and only that hollow suit of armor, taller than a man, stood in the hallway. You have grasped the key, Watson. The hollow armor was the sole possible hiding place. The mystery of its movements lies therein. According to Mr. Holmes, the murderer was rehearsing the crime when the photograph was taken. That would mean someone behind the king already foresaw the plot. I believe your deduction is sound, Miss Alice. Look more closely at the photograph. There may be deeper secrets hidden within. A familiar hat. Is that the hat of the art dealer? But this is an old photograph taken 5 years ago in the Bohemian Royal Banquet Hall. How could there be a trace of Ramet? No, Professor Moriarty? It appears Miss Alice has already investigated the true identity of that master criminal. Ramet, the witness to the will in the Bevel case? Your memory is flawless, Watson, but I suspect you never learned his real name. That is the measure of his cunning. He operates behind the scenes of criminal enterprise and never shows his true face. I never succeeded in finding proof of his guilt, and yet here he has left evidence of his presence. The constable did mention that Miss Adler was on intimate terms with the second heir to the throne. Once the prince was murdered, she would be the first to uncover the truth. Miss Adler is the victim of their elaborate deceit. No, if, as Holmes says, no definite evidence against Professor Moriarty has ever been found, then the marks in the photograph cannot be his oversight. What then is the truth? Perhaps it is still far too soon for us to answer that question. Mr. Holmes, what should we do now? The photograph, together with the information Mr. Holmes has gathered, is enough to expose both the double and Professor Moriarty. It is indeed the perfect moment to see justice done. Miss Alice, since the impostor has not yet arrived, you may take the photograph and the truth itself and reveal to the royal house of Bohemia the false king who has long deceived them. Or you may choose to avoid the perilous whirlpool ahead. When the appointed time arrives, the double will return for the photograph, and the secret will remain forever buried. Mr. Holmes' keen eyes fixed upon the empty compartment as though striving to pierce the fog and glimpse the shape of the future. This was my only chance to choose. I shall expose the fake king. I took the photograph in Mr. Holmes' hand, resolved to expose the man who had usurped the throne. This old affair touches matters of great consequence. Only the royal house learns the truth. A ruthless investigation will surely follow, and Professor Moriarty himself may be drawn into the light. It is indeed a courageous choice, yet not, I fear, a prudent one. Why, Mr. Holmes, is this not the very moment to see justice done? A single letter may stir the waters, or set the whole sea aflame. Those who we would truly fear will not wait to be unmasked. They will retreat into shadow and strike back when least expected, turning order into chaos. Then must we, knowing the truth, stand idly by? Much as it pains me, patience must be our ally. Yet that woman, she has carried the secrets of that criminal empire long enough. Epilogue. The frozen lie. I can only hope that my choice was the right one, though, as so often in life, matters may not unfold as one would wish. When next the king's name appeared, it was in the newspaper announcing his wedding. The impostor king had been wed as planned. I am certain the letter reached the royal house of Bohemia, yet it vanished without a ripple. The detailed account I had drafted for publication remained on my desk, for many reasons unsent. Of Miss Adler's whereabouts I heard no more. Mr. Holmes' words seemed once again to echo in my ear. What then is the truth? Perhaps it is still far too soon for us to answer that question. I suppose the letter she left for him now lies pressed within some index of his files. Whether it will ever again see the light, I cannot tell. Perhaps years after, when the malice that once lurked in the dark has faded with time, the truth shall at last be set down by Dr. Watson's hand, becoming but another light-spoken tale abroad in the streets. Recalling the affair, I often feel the faintest melancholy. I wonder whether the letter Miss Adler left for Mr. Holmes held deeper secrets or fresh challenges for his mind. Yet I am certain that with her courage, even stripped of her only protection, she would find her way from the maelstrom and stand upon the stage she herself had chosen. Wait, her only protection? The words of the impostor king seemed to whisper again in my ear, and in that instant I caught a flicker of the hidden thread within the fog. Unsavory dealings, her intrigues, the scandal. I turned over the notes in the old index, recalling the first invitation Miss Adler ever received. The photograph, the secret, the concealment, and then the death of an heir apparent in what was called an accident. In the corner of the newspaper, a report of a detective named Douglas gone missing caught my attention. His figure seemed strangely familiar. Plainly, there are still deeper mysteries concealed behind this tale. The end. Well, that was very interesting. Wow, that is a lot of emotes. Look at that, the King of Bohemia. And we've gotten all of these, which I will put onto the people probably later. That was a frozen lie. And that was interesting. Very good, very good. I always love these kind of stories, and I cannot wait to do more. I'm especially excited for the story with Hunter and Millie, because I believe we are supposed to get a story for that. I don't know if it's going to be kind of like the Hullabaloo story, or I guess that Ashes of Memory story, but I guess we'll have to wait and see to find out. I'm not sure when I'm going to be posting this. I'm going to do my best to do it before the new season starts, but just in case I don't do that and it comes out after the new season 40 starts, then oh well. I don't know where I was going with that, but we'll see what happens when I post this. Anyways, thank you so much for watching. The next video will definitely be the culinary one, so stay tuned for that one. And hope to see you again in my videos. Bye!